And now, Knock 2 Studios presents Common Censored. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Common Censored. Thanks for joining us, all of you censored commoners. This is episode 239. P-Papa Diddy Pop popped, arrested, held without bail. We'll get into that. Macron potentially being impeached in France. Fredo Cuomo apologizing to Trump. Hezbollah pagers exploding. Meta banning Russia Today. RT. Major Ukraine false flag inbound. Two fire department of New York chiefs arrested for taking bribes. All kinds of crazy stuff to talk about today, as usual. Make sure to join us Monday through Friday as we cover all the crazy clown world clusterfuck chaos that is 2024. Use hashtag CommonCensored and hashtag InfoInfantry when you share the broadcast. Let us know you shared it so we can enter you as an enlisted personnel in the Info Infantry. Pick the branch of your choice: Army, Navy, Marines, Space Force, Coast Guard, Air Force, etc. Whatever I forgot there. Links to all of the content we discussed today will be posted down in the video description on Rumble immediately following the broadcast. So if you're watching this later on and want to know what we're talking about and where to jump in the podcast, click down there in the description. All the topics will be in order, so you'll be able to roughly figure out where to go in the podcast to hear the topics that are interesting to you. Disclaimer. Views expressed on Common Censored are only opinions. Assume everything we say is false and research for yourself. We're not giving medical, legal, or financial advice. The only advice we are giving is think for yourself. Question authority. Think for yourself. Question authority. Boom! Shout out to Mama Mac. She's been sick a couple days, so there won't be any timestamps today on the show, but it's all good because all the other articles are in order, so you'll be able to figure out where to go anyway. But just hoping Mama Mac is feeling better. I see her over in the chat. What's up to all the people in the chat? Lady Hamilton, Art, Mama Mac, Crazy B, Braden McGroin, and Husbro 89. What's up, Beavis? Let's see. Boom! We have an image over here of Trump walking into the Secret Service break room after going 2-0 against the assassins. Smells like bitch in here. Trump goes undefeated for now. He's got to go in the bunker before they try to, third time is, I don't want to say anything more about that. Hopefully there's no more attempts. Trump needs to hide. The American Revolution would have been lost if Washington hadn't retreated strategically at the Battle of Brooklyn. So sometimes you need to retreat, know when to fight, know when to retreat, when to pull back and regroup. And Trump needs to regroup right now. But we have some cool footage of him greeting the sheriff's deputies at Mar-a-Lago who arrested the would-be assassin. Let's check this out. Trump is freaking hilarious, man. The stuff he says always cracks me up.
That's good-looking stuff right there.
Good-looking stuff right there.
Mr. President, God bless. Great job. Great job. We go down the line. Thank you very much. I'm still here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, Sheriff, who's your best man here? Who's the best guy? Oh, that's pretty good. I didn't think you'd point him out. That's good, huh? That's good-looking stuff. Right?
Look at the just opulence of Mar-a-Lago. What a gorgeous structure. I'd love to just explore that place and look at all the art and everything. Maybe someday. For now, let's jump over to our next clip. Benny Johnson interviewing Eli Crane, who is suggesting that there may be a mole in the Secret Service. Imagine my shock. Congressman and former Navy SEAL Eli Crane concludes evidence suggests possible Secret Service mole after the second attempt on Donald J. Trump. Watch the watchers. There's a very real possibility that there is a mole in the Secret Service. Otherwise, how would Ryan Routh have known where to go and when? There has to be a mole.
Point number 2 is this. The president, my advice to the president is to bolster your private security around you, not only to fill holes in the gaps that the Secret Service continues to leave open, but also to watch the watchers. There is a very real possibility at this point that there is a mole within the Secret Service team surrounding the president or at the highest levels of the Secret Service. And so he does need somebody, a group of individuals around him that are loyal to him and are not politicized. They're not worried about seeking promotion, and they don't answer to people that hate the president. And so, that would be my advice to the president at this point. Point number 2 is this.
He's going to have to pull a Tyrion Lannister and start strategically leaking information, tell one advisor one thing, tell a different advisor a different thing, tell a third advisor a third thing, and then whatever ends up leaking, he'll know where the source was because feeding phony intel to potential leaks. I don't know. That would be cool, though. Let's check out this post from Colin Rugg. Cringe. John Pierre says it's dangerous for Peter Doocy to call her out for continuing to call Trump a threat to democracy after 2 assassination attempts, as Colin Rugg over here on X, at Colin Rugg, Colin with 2 L's, Rugg with 2 G's, points out this may be the gaslight of the month. Let's check this one out.
2 days since somebody allegedly tried to kill Donald Trump again. And you're here at the podium in the White House briefing room calling him a threat.
President Biden has been clear-eyed about the threat that the former president represents to our democracy.
How many more assassination attempts on Donald Trump until the president and the vice president and you pick a different word to describe Trump other than threat?
Yeah, it seems to me like he's being threatened. He's the guy who is the target of the threat.
Peter, if anything from this administration, I actually completely disagree with the premise of your question, the question that you're asking. It is also incredibly
Can't even look at this chick
in the way that you're asking it, because American people are watching. And to say that from an administration.
She doesn't even look like a press secretary. She looks like she should be at a clown rodeo. Reflective, crazy makeup on the eyes, fucking ridiculous Raggedy Ann hair, orange suit glowing like you could probably see this bitch from space. Is this a clown show or is this a press briefing?
Who has consistently condemned political violence.
Yeah,
from an administration where the president called the former president and was grateful that he was okay. From an administration who has called out January 6th, called out the attack of Paul Pelosi, called out and said we need to lower the temperature after
J6 with FBI intelligence provocateurs starting it. Paul Pelosi, who was attacked with a hammer by the guy who was Nancy's cameraman at J6, closer CAC. Thanks for following the broadcast. What are you talking about, cringe John Pierre?
After the Butler incident. And now for you to make that kind of comment in your question, because your question involved a comment and a statement. And, it is, that is also incredibly dangerous.
So pointing out that it's dangerous to use escalating rhetoric that will encourage people like calling Trump Hitler. Well, everybody knows that it's okay to go back in time and kill Hitler, right? So you're basically encouraging people to go after Trump. And I apologize, guys. You have now officially died of cringe after being subjected to a cringe Jean Pierre. So my humble apologies for that. Let's see what we got next. Let's jump into the Diddy stuff. P-Pop and Diddy Pop, we have footage, a picture of him being arrested over here. Always trust the Simpsons with P-Pop and Diddy Pop running from the cops, from the Piglies. So crazy stuff as he has been arrested. It's about time, Crazy B says. Dom Luker posting, Sean Diddy Combs has been arrested in Manhattan, New York after a grand jury indictment. This is the first arrest since his accusations of human trafficking and hidden camera honeypot operations. And interestingly, this is happening one day after the second attempt on Donald Trump. So consider us skeptical. It needs almost like they need some kind of distraction to get people, talking about something other than the clear and obvious deep state plot against Donald J. Trump. Let's check out some of the press conference regarding Diddy's arrest and indictment.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Damian Williams, and I'm the U.S. Attorney here in the Southern District of New York. Today, I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
Ruh-roh.
The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including...
So stupid to call your criminal empire bad boy. Like, you're just drawing attention to your illegal activities, puffy, slick.
Including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice. Let me say a little bit more about the charges. The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways. As alleged, Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers, some of whom he transported or caused to be transported over state lines. Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them.
God,
the freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant. As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair.
That's right,
on one occasion in March of 2016, that conduct was captured on video and later reported in the media. Specifically, Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a victim in a Los Angeles hotel when the victim was attempting to flee. As alleged, these assaults often resulted in injuries to the victims, which took days or weeks to heal. In addition to the violence, the indictment alleges that Combs threatened and coerced victims to get them to participate in the freak-offs. He used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as collateral against the victims. And the indictment alleges that he maintained control over the victims in several ways, including by giving them drugs, by giving and threatening to take away financial support or housing, by promising them career opportunities, by monitoring their whereabouts, and even by dictating their physical appearance. Because of all of this, the indictment alleges that the victims did not believe they could refuse Combs without risking their security or facing more abuse. The indictment also alleges other acts of violence undertaken by Combs and others, including violence against witnesses to his abuse, kidnapping, and arson. The indictment alleges that on more than one occasion, Combs carried or brandished firearms to intimidate and threaten victims and witnesses. Now, Combs did not do this all on his own. As I mentioned, Combs has been charged with RICO conspiracy. He used his business and employees of that business and other close associates to get his way. Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff. The indictment alleges that those individuals facilitated the freak-offs. They booked the hotel rooms and stocked them with the supplies, including drugs, baby oil, personal lubricant, extra linens, and lighting. When the hotel rooms got damaged, they helped clean it up. They arranged for victims and commercial sex workers to travel for the freak-offs, and they delivered large quantities of cash to Combs to pay for the commercial sex workers.
That's what 50
The indictment also alleges that they helped Combs cover up his crimes. During the March 2016 incident at the LA hotel that I mentioned earlier, a member of the hotel security staff intervened.
For real.
Combs attempted to bribe the staff member with a stack of cash to make
sure
that what happened was
on
kept
camera.
quiet.
Look at him.
And as the indictment alleges, in late 2023, after public allegations were made about Combs' crimes, he and others pressured witnesses and victims to stay silent, including by making phone calls to witnesses and victims and giving them a false narrative of what they had experienced. And as alleged, Combs used others to help conceal his abuse by monitoring and
That's not what happened. You're just confused. You're just confused. It's like mafia shit.
preventing victims from leaving a location in order to hide their injuries, or by locating and contacting a victim who had attempted to flee. As part of this investigation, in March of this year, special agents from HSI executed search warrants at Combs' residences in Miami and Los Angeles.
So we saw that. Let's jump ahead. Diddy held without bail. So he's being held without bail. He offered 50 mil to let him go, but they're like, nope. They're like, no. They said, to quote Diddy himself. Oh, Ian Carroll exposing Diddy. Diddy got arrested. In case you didn't know yet, he was the Epstein of the music industry. He was running a sexual blackmail ring to control powerful producers, musicians, celebrities, politicians, and execs. He was promoting degenerate music and messages all throughout the 2000s. Yeah. Huge portions of the music industry is based on organized crime and a poison to our society. Well, there was the rap meeting that, or the meeting that changed rap history back in like the early 90s, where the members of the record companies, the prison industrial complex, and like the CIA all got together and decided to promote gangster rap as to create a pipeline of inmates to keep their production up in their private prisons, where they can basically get people working slave labor. And now I guarantee, Ian says, they're going to bury all the tapes, and Diddy is going to have a miraculous accident in FBI custody and magically commit seppuku. Diddy didn't kill himself. Let's check out Ian Carroll's expose. He's always doing really good work, so I'm interested to hear his take.
Well, tonight, they arrested P. Diddy. News just broke that they took him into custody in New York City. So I figured now's as good a time as any to shit all over Sean again and remind everyone just how horrible this man is. So if you haven't read the court documents and done any of the other research on this guy, this producer he worked with named Lil Rod brought this lawsuit against him.
Lil Rod.
Rodney Jones.
What an unfortunate name for a male to be named Lil Rod. Oh, he's got a tiny rod.
V. Sean Combs, alleging RICO allegation, which is like organized crime. And he alleged that a member of this RICO organization was none other than the CEO of Universal Music Group, Lucien Grange. Universal Music Group produced 1/3 of the top 100 songs last year, including Taylor Swift. Quote, while living and traveling with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones discovered that Combs had hidden cameras in every room of his homes. Mr. Jones believed that Mr. Combs had recordings of defendants Lucien Charles Grange, Ethiopia Habermanova, as well as other celebrities, music label executives, politicians, and athletes. Upon information and belief, these individuals were recorded without their knowledge and consent, and as in the case with the homosexual sex tape of Stevie J that Mr. Combs provided to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs possesses compromising footage of every person that has attended his freak-off parties and his house parties. Upon information and belief, due to this treasure trove of evidence he has in his possession, Mr. Combs believes that he is above the law and is untouchable. Well, the diddler just got touched. But don't worry, I'm not going to drop that spice and then not give you more details. So Diddy was big on recording all kinds of things, and he frequently took this guy's phone from him and recorded things at parties. So this dude wound up with hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings of Mr. Combs, his staff, and his guests engaging in serious illegal activity on his own cell phone, including the acquisition, use, distribution of ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and mushrooms, the displaying and distribution of unregistered illegal firearms, Combs providing laced alcoholic beverages to minors and sex workers at his homes in California, New York, the Virgin Islands, and Florida. Yes, those Virgin Islands. Diddy's brother, Christian, drugging and sexually assaulting a woman. Mr. Combs detailing how he planned to leverage his relationship with Bishop T.D. Jakes to soften the impact of his public image of Cassie Ventura's lawsuit, which is horrendous, and I'm not going to read from it. It's absolutely disgusting. This guy's a piece of shit. Actor Cuba Gooding Jr., yes, that actor, Cuba Gooding Jr.,
Cuba!
Sexually harassing and assaulting Mr. Jones. Yes, here are photos of Cuba doing the things. Here's more photos of Cuba Gooding Jr. trying to fuck this guy. Quote, forcibly touching Mr. Jones.
Gross.
Fondling Mr. Jones' leg, his upper inner thighs, and his groin,
No!
the small of his back, near his buttocks and his shoulders. Jones rejected his advances, and Mr. Gooding Jr. did not stop until Mr. Jones forcibly pushed him away. The following is a screenshot. Homie witnessed a shooting where either Diddy or his brother shot a dude in the bathroom and then got the cops to just totally not prosecute, not investigate, say it was a drive-by, they drove away. But what Diddy's scheme was all about was getting rappers to do gay stuff on camera, though they did not know it,
and then
so that he had
bribing them
blackmail
with
on
it.
them so that he could kind of control them and thereby control the whole music industry that he had kind of helped create. And to be fair, I mean, like...
And this is one of the reasons why 50 Cent hates P. Diddy. That and his possible connections to the Tupac murder, like you mentioned. Unique Prepping! Make sure to subscribe to Unique Prepping on Rumble and Lady Hamilton Art on Rumble. Unique Prepping on YouTube, actually. That's where he's more focused right now.
I mean, maybe he like saw some signs that maybe it would work, but apparently homie wasn't having it. Sorry, I'm just making jokes. Quote, Mr. Combs, Diddy, went so far as to share a video of Stevie J anally penetrating a Caucasian male without a condom. This was done to ease Mr. Jones's anxiety concerning homosexuality. According to Diddy, this is a normal practice in the music industry. Look, even Stevie J is doing it. Diddy informed Mr. Jones that he had engaged in sexual intercourse with rapper Redacted, R&B singer Redacted, and Stevie J. Yes, Diddy's having gay orgies and using it to try to get homie to have more gay orgies because that's what he's all about. Mr. Combs promised to make sure that Mr. Jones wins Producer of the Year at the Grammys if he did gay stuff. So A, Diddy is claiming that he has the power and leverage to get some random dude to win Producer of the Year at the Grammys, and he's leveraging that to get gay sex and blackmail from that gay sex. Diddy's assistant, Defendant Coram, required all employees from the butler, the chef, to the housekeepers to walk around with a pouch or fanny pack filled with cocaine, GHB, ecstasy, marijuana, gummies, Tucci, mixture of ecstasy and cocaine, at all times, so that Diddy could get high anywhere and everywhere. And yes, homeboy has photos of all of it. Diddy maintained this RICO enterprise by using threats of violence, threatening to eat his face, displaying and distributing guns
Hannibal Lecter style,
bragging about having law enforcement under control, bragging about murdering people, and bragging about bribing witnesses and jurors in the criminal case concerning the 1999 New York City nightclub shooting with Shine. Are you getting the picture yet?
Boom. Crazy. So I'm not going to play this whole thing because I don't want to violate Ian's copyright, but make sure to head over to his channel, Ian Carroll at Cancel Clo Co, and watch the full expose. Really, really crazy stuff. Next, let's jump over to InfoWars. Alex Jones, at Real Alex Jones, posting, P. Diddy takes down Illuminati Hollywood. Sean Combs, recipient of the key to New York City, was arrested at the Park Hyatt on West 57th. His freak-off parties exposed CIA-controlled ops in Hollywood. Panic spreads and justice may bring fallout. This is going to be interesting.
Hollywood has revealed themselves as they truly are. Arrogant, misinformed, spoiled assholes who would rather support a foreign power that is responsible for sending the United States over a cliff than support the efforts of their own republic.
Archetypes of the devil and God are real. And then once you understand the archetypes are real, where the archetypes come from, well, that's because there's something behind the archetype. And that the devil is real.
The bad boy of entertainment is getting the key to the city from the bad boy of politics.
I want to thank y'all for this honor and just recognizing me being from New York, giving me the key to the city.
Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping.
We saw this, so let's skip ahead to this part. Oh, there we go.
Bribery, and the obstruction of justice.
The Sean Combs, aka P. Diddy Epstein-esque saga is as much of a developing monstrosity as it is the ultimate New World Order celebrity distraction.
This is sort of unprecedented, what's happening here. You wouldn't often expect a celebrity mogul such as P. Diddy to be the subject of such an investigation.
In summary, according to a lawsuit filed by Chicago native and musical prodigy Rodney Jones, aka Little Rod, Sean Combs hired Jones to produce songs on one of his albums. Jones was then led into a twisted, rigged music industry den of iniquity fueled by underage sex trafficking, homosexual grooming abuse, murder, RICO statute violations, and every variety of drugs known to mankind. Those implicated in the lawsuit include Combs' immediate family, music executives, top-tier Hollywood actors, and a slew of hyped-up, crappy musicians that inhabit the hijacked Illuminati music industry.
We're talking A-listers like Cuba Gooding Jr., Meek Mill, Young Miami, Stevie J, Usher, Chris Brown, and even Diddy's own son, Justin Combs.
Mr. Jones has secured hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings of Mr. Combs, his staff, and his guests engaging in serious illegal activity.
The lawsuit reads, quote, Mr. Combs had hidden cameras in every room of his home, has recordings of several celebrities, artists, music label executives, and athletes engaging in illegal activity. These individuals were recorded without their knowledge and consent. Mr. Combs possesses compromising footage of every person who has attended his freak-off parties and his house parties, end quote. The lawsuit.
And this has been the MO since the founding of the FBI in like 1908. This is what they do. They get dirt and they use it to control politicians, to control people in the media, to control people in entertainment, to control people in corporations. This is the most effective method of controlling people, it seems, is sexual blackmail.
Is as bizarre as it is enlightening, and a link to it is added to the text of this report. For instance, quote, Defendant Coram, Combs' assistant, required all employees from the butler, the chef, to the housekeepers to walk around with a pouch or fanny pack filled with cocaine, GHB, ecstasy, marijuana gummies, and Tukey, which is a pink drug that is a combination of X and cocaine, end quote.
The devil's going to operate through all the possessed people he's got. It's a program. If you're exposing these satanic interdimensional forces, that are the special operations of this interdimensional alien invasion, that's how they come through. Just think of them as aliens, and then you can sell all these people, because that's what they are from their perspective. But they're demons. They're interdimensional creatures. People are going to laugh at that till one attacks them. See, and I know the Bible that as you approach Revelations, the gates of hell are going to be open, the interdimensional gate, and only a small number of Satan's operatives were here before. The gates will be thrown open, and we're going to have these things literally running around the streets. Now, you ask, why would these creatures attack people that were doing God's work but didn't have God's protection? You'd think that would make them wake up and accept Jesus. They can't help it. If you're not protected, they want to destroy you. It's like a zombie wants brains. It's got to go after it's its mission. You're like, well, that's fantastical. Have you looked at the stars at night? Have you looked at the sun? Have you looked at the birds? Have you looked at the wind? Have you not felt the energy, the good and the bad? We're on a fantastical planet in a unbelievably amazing universe, because we're designed to learn how to conquer all this matter and ourselves, to have all that power and to control it. But if you decide to not go along with God's program, you're going to go with the devil's program, and you're going to be fully taken over by it. So you've got doorways into your soul, and the only way you protect it is Jesus Christ and that defense shield. And it's something you already knew. So you're not being taught this by Alex Jones. You're simply having your amnesia removed so that you can remember how truly ancient you are.
Boom. Crazy stuff. Let's hop over to Hillary Clinton making waves again. And I had a story about why the Biden regime doesn't like Polymarket, but I lost the timestamp, so I'm going to try to find it as we continue so we can play it, because it's really interesting. But the criminal cabal is in full panic mode. Breaking. Hillary Clinton suggests jailing Americans for posting misinformation. There needs to be deterrence. No. You want to fight misinformation, you fight it with truth. That's how you fight lies, with truth. Hillary, are you familiar at all with American philosophy?
And boosting Trump back in 2016. But I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda. And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrence, because then boosting.
Right to jail, right away. This witch is pure evil. How about this one? We look forward to every MSM journalist asking Kamala Harris if she denounces this violent rhetoric from Hillary cankles Clinton less than 48 hours after President Trump almost got assassinated for the second time because of rhetoric like this. Hillary Clinton on MSNBC. The press needs to create a consistent narrative about how dangerous Trump is. He's a danger to our country and our world. They're using this type of language on purpose to radicalize people, to try to get them to go after the former president. It's clear and obvious.
And I don't understand why it's so difficult for the press to have a consistent narrative about how dangerous Trump is. The late, great journalist Harry Evans, one time said that, journalists should, really try to achieve objectivity. And by that, he said, I mean, they should cover the object. Well, the object in this case is Donald Trump, his demagoguery, his danger to our country and the world, and stick with it.
These people are lunatics. Lunatics. Hillary Clinton says Democrat lawfare against Trump is karma for the 2016 imaginary election interference. No. What are you talking about? Twice failed presidential hopeful Hillary Clinton sat down for an interview with CBS Sunday morning host Erin Moriarty to discuss the 2024 election. Hillary said she had tears in her eyes when Trump was convicted on 34 felony accounts in Alvin Bragg's lawfare hush money. Hopefully the next time she has tears in her eyes will be when she's in an orange jumpsuit in solitary confinement. I got tears in my eyes then because this man has escaped accountability his entire life, Hillary said, coming from a woman who destroyed evidence under subpoena and escaped federal prosecution. Hillary used BleachBit to erase thousands of emails and took hammers to her BlackBerries that were under subpoena after she got caught using a private server to conduct official government business while she was the head of the Department of State. Put her in a rocket, shoot her into the sun. That's what I say. After due process, FBI's asshole, fuck you. Hillary said the Stormy Daniels case was mistakenly called a hush money case when it was an election interference case. Neither. It's a pretty clear case of election interference. It was just an NDA and a compensation. That's it. Man, these people are pure evil.
I got tears in my eyes then because this man has escaped accountability his entire life. The case, which was mistakenly called a hush money case, was an election interference case. Why did he do what he did? He did it to try to keep the information from the American public so that they wouldn't turn away from him and vote for me. So it's a pretty clear case of election interference.
And when you heard that he had been convicted, there had to be, you're human, there had to be a side of you after enduring months of hearing lock her up, thinking,
right.
This is the person who's actually facing time in jail.
Looks like karma to me.
Yeah, karma's coming for you. Don't worry about it, Hillary. Karma is coming. We haven't forgotten about any of your sins, about the wake of bodies that you left in your trail. We're coming for you, Hillary. Legally, in terms of, arresting you for your legitimate crimes. Let's jump over to the next topic. Putin is preparing a massive invasion to end this war and apparently has warned of a massive false flag attack that Ukraine is planning to blame Russia and encourage war with NATO.
Well, a lot of moving pieces in the global chess match right now. Russia warning today that Ukraine is about to launch a massive false flag operation where they would strike children's hospitals using Russian weapons in order to rally support from the West. Is their support from the West fading and they need some sort of large false flag operation to wake Biden up?
Thank you to Baltimore Maven for following the channel. Appreciate you. Boom.
I don't know. Meanwhile, Vladimir Putin doubled down on his warning to the West. If the U.S. allowed and supported long-range strikes inside of Russia, it would mean NATO is at war with Russia. And according to the New York Times, the U.S. is scared of escalating a hot war with Russia. Do you buy that? It's really the Brits that are trying to make this move? Well, let's ask Colonel Douglas McGregor, who is in the in the new studio, and I'm thrilled to have the Colonel here to talk about all of this and more. Colonel, great to see you today. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Clayton. Good to be with you.
So a couple of moving pieces I want to get your take on. We have this Houthi strike inside of Tel Aviv using a hypersonic missile. We have Zelensky fanboy just trying to assassinate Donald Trump. The timing of all of this is very suspect. First, before we get into a couple of these other big stories, I want to get your take on this latest assassination attempt and the fact that we now know that this individual was in Ukraine. He was there trying to recruit Americans to go fight against Russia. And the timing of him suddenly showing up at this particular hole on this golf course, when the Secret Service, we now know today, this was a snap decision for Trump to even play golf, that he happened to show up at that exact moment. Well, just give me your initial reaction to that from your close relationship with President Trump.
Well, one has to conclude that there are very few accidents of this kind. I mean, that's too much of a coincidence to dismiss out of hand. I don't know is the basic answer to your question, because I don't have access to what the Secret Service and FBI know. We already have lots of unanswered questions about the first attempt. You know, as I was talking to someone very recently, they said, well, he was almost killed. And I said, are you sure? And they said, well, look, it just grazed one side of his head. I said, well, if a professional assassin was at work and could shoot that well, there would have been a second bullet almost immediately that would have gone right through.
Except it wasn't a trained assassin. It was like a high school kid. So not applicable, Colonel McGregor.
His forehead. And no such second bullet ever occurred. Instead, what we
Striker!
have
Good
is
to
this
see you,
wild
bro.
shooting spree into the crowd.
Hope you're having a good
which
week.
made no sense whatsoever. Now we have this man who seemingly comes out of nowhere, but has, some connectivity to the Ukraine operation, which means connectivity to the CIA, because the CIA
Right,
has
Mama
a
Mac.
major hand in running the war in Ukraine. They're the ones spinning the narrative, lying to everybody that the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal all repeat without question. So the whole thing stinks, I think, is the only answer I can come up with. It smells bad. It doesn't make any sense.
There's an odor of mendacity, you could say.
The timing is so fascinating to me as well, right at a moment where you have, according to the New York Times, a sort of waffling by the Biden administration on sending or allowing the use
Clayton, you got to turn down the bass on your vocals, man. It almost exploded my speaker the other day.
of long-range weapons to attack inside of Russia. The UK appears to be the bullies here, the strong arm, but the Biden administration not willing to escalate. And then you have this Ukrainian connection on an attack on President Trump, and now this news of a large-scale false flag operation from the Russian side that's about to happen against children's hospitals in order to rally.
I found the Poly Market clip on Viva and Barnes too, so we'll play that next. It's really interesting.
Support from the West. Again, the timing on all of this stinks. What do you make of that?
Well, we have examples of where the Ukrainians had done things and then blamed it on the Russians in the hope that this would build support for Ukraine. You had this early on in what was deemed as a mass atrocity against Ukrainians, where the Russians supposedly went into a town and killed everybody and left the bodies lying around. We now have testimony from the French journalists who have investigated it and have eyewitness accounts that there were no Russians there at all. The people in this town were Ukrainians who were killed by other Ukrainians in order to create the impression that the Russians were indiscriminately killing civilians.
Oh, imagine my shock, guys.
Well, imagine my shock.
It's the MO. They keep lying about everything regarding Russia.
And of course, that fits with the CIA MI6 narrative that you continue to read in all
It's
the
all a
Western
setup.
media. So I think the false flag issue should not be dismissed. It's eminently possible. But I would argue that the much more important message is the one that you referred to, that Putin has now delivered. And it's a very straightforward one. He says, clearly, the Ukrainians do not have the capability to launch any of these long-range strike systems like the Shadow, or in France, it's called the Storm Shadow. In France, they call it the Scalp missile. They can't launch these things at any given targets because they depend entirely on our intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance assets in space. We are providing them with the data. We are providing them with the launch capability. And then they get undoubtedly technical assistance, just as right now in Iran, there are thousands of Russians on the ground in Iran helping the Iranians to build up an air and missile defense system. You have the same thing going on with us in Ukraine. And so Putin has said, look, if this happens, we know who's responsible. It's not the Ukrainians. And we're going to take action. Now, I think he's aiming first and foremost, because the Storm Shadow is a British weapon, at the British. Now, what is he going to do? What will the Russians do? They're saying conceivably it could lead to a state of war because they're tired of the nonsense. In other words, they're saying, we're going to treat you as a co-belligerent.
So watch out for a potential false flag coming from Ukraine, claiming that it's Russia to try to escalate the situation. As NATO's Jens Stoltenberg says, each country must decide if Ukraine can use its long-range missiles on Russia. So are they trying to divert responsibility from NATO by allowing individual member states to make this decision? Reuters, the outgoing head of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, said on Monday he welcomed talks on Ukraine's use of long-range missiles to strike inside Russian territory. But any decision on the issue would have to be made by individual allies. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has been pleading with allies for months to let Ukraine fire Western missiles, including long-range U.S. ATACMS ATACMS and British Storm Shadows deep into Russia to limit Moscow's ability to launch attacks. Prime Minister of Britain, Keir Starmer, and U.S. President Crooked Joe Biden held talks in Washington on Friday whether or not to allow Kiev to use long-range missiles against targets in Russia. No decision was announced. It seems like the UK is bullish. Joe Biden's like, I'm about to crap my pants. No, I'm going to have to be in the bathroom in 5 minutes. We can't launch nuclear war. So we'll have to see what happens with this. But I don't like it. It's escalating. We don't want World War III, but they can't allow Trump to win the presidency, so they're going to have to do something. And if they don't get it popped off before the election, there's still 79 days of hell where they could escalate. Hopefully, Putin remains the biggest boy in the room and holds off launching nukes as retaliation until we can get Trump in there and to negotiate a peace settlement. Let's hop over to the Polymarket discussion with Viva and Barnes. Why does the Biden administration want Polymarket to go away? Possibly because people putting money where their mouth is and betting on predictions on the future is the best actual way to determine the likelihood of future events occurring. So Polymarket may slice like butter through the fake polls that the controlled corporate media puts out. So if you look at the fake polls, then you go look at Polymarket, and you're like, well, people are putting money on these bets. It kind of seems like the polls are fake, that the news is fake. Let's take a listen to Viva and Barnes talking about it.
He's bringing hell to their doorsteps. This was published at 12:30, and then 1 hour later, someone was, some alleged apparent Ukrainian supporting nutbag who watches CNN and PBS. Okay, the betting markets. I'd never heard of this platform, but so who goes after them? It's the Federal Trade Commission.
This is really interesting.
Goes after
the Commodities and Futures Trading Commission in this case.
Okay, so they go after what is basically betting on political outcomes, and they call it
Whiskey Peddler. They took a vote on whether to kill Socrates too. Yeah, democracy is assho. Wolves voting on wolves and a sheep voting on what to eat for dinner. Screw democracy.
They qualify it as gaming and gambling, where I forget it was called. It had a K in it. The name of the company, Kaloshi or something.
Kalshi, I think it is.
Kalshi. So Kalshi says we're not gaming or gambling. We are allowing people to speak and basically let us know where they think the political outcomes are going to go by using their money, and it's neither gambling nor illegal. And they ended up being who found that they were right in their qualification, that the rule that the FTC, I forget the acronym, it's a 5-letter acronym, the rule that they deemed them to be gambling or illegal conduct was capricious, willy-nilly, violated the APA, and that I don't know if this opens up the markets in America to political investments in the future, political futures, but it's certainly a good decision. I know you love it. Tell us more about it.
So the first question people should ask themselves is, why is the Biden administration harassing everybody that was even, educational intended organizations like those that sponsor Predicted into taking down political betting markets?
Good question. And just FYI, guys, we only got into the first quarter of this video talking about the Ukraine situation. So link is in the description, or will be after the broadcast. And I just posted it in the chat if you guys want to check out on Redacted the full video interviewing Colonel McGregor.
Why are they threatening Polymarket? So that Polymarket's official policy is to not take money from U.S. customers. Nothing illegal about it, but they coerce them into doing that with intimidating threats. They've drastically limited the markets on Predicted, as Predicted has had to be in extended litigation. In this case, Kalshi, that does prediction markets of all kinds on a wide range of topics and subjects, in order to improve our understanding of those topics and subjects in particular, this has been an area of academic inquiry for some time, was threatened by the Commodities and Futures Trading Commission. And you have to ask, what does Commodities and Futures Trading Commission have to do with prediction markets?
Right. Oh, it has future in it, so it must be about predicting the future. These people are criminal scumbags. Shout out to Jimmy Linsbucks 01 and Randolph Shaw 09 for following the broadcast. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to earn your viewership.
Well, they were taking the position. Well, the first thing is, why is there any political motivation by the Biden administration to do this? It's very simple. If you follow political betting markets, they can impact the public narrative. It's people putting money where their mouth is. And if you see a disparity and a discrepancy between the political betting markets and the official media narrative, which has sporadically popped up, it can expose the big fat fraud the government's trying to push down your throat. And that I think that is precisely why the Biden administration became obsessed with suppressing and shutting them all down. They didn't want there to be a constant, continuous daily check that said, by the way, the narrative you're getting from the New York Times, the narrative you're getting from ABC, the narrative you're getting from the officials in power is a big lie. They didn't want that out there. So they decided to come up with this novel theory that it's a futures contract, that betting on a political election outcome is really a futures contract, number one, so that the Commodities and Futures Trading Commission could govern it. That secondly, that they could write rules about these things in ways that appear to exceed their authority from the get-go. We'll get to the FTC doing the same thing in non-compete arrangement circumstances, which was something, by the way, we predicted about a year ago in the context of the Steven Crowder case. And then the third part was to say that they were unlawful gaming. So they could only regulate these contracts as futures,
to talk about
even
it,
if you were to consider them futures contracts. But they could prohibit them if they're unlawful or gaming contracts. And the problem is nothing about them is unlawful under state law because they're not gaming. As in fact, the judge went through, and Kalshi, to their credit, didn't just lay down and take it. They challenged it. They said this is nonsense. Fought it all the way through to the summary judgment stage, and exposed the absurdity of their claims. This goes back to the old fantasy football debates where they were trying to ban fantasy football in some states by calling it illegal gambling. The gambling by law, the legal definition of gambling, the common sense definition of true gambling, is that it's a game of risk.
That there's a gamble, right? If you're using statistics and sports to make educated guesses, then it's a bet, but it's not a gamble. Gamble is a game of chance, of pure luck.
It's a pure game of chance that you have. That here's the way I'd put it: if political betting was gambling, retards like Nate Silver would be as successful as me. They're not, because it's not a game.
Let's give Nate Silver a little alert over here.
Retard alert! Retard alert, class!
That's not politically correct, Mr. Attorney Robert Barnes, but we love it anyway.
Of risk, of just random chance. Skill can make a difference. It's the difference between poker and video poker. You know, it's the difference between sports betting and slot machines. One of them people can consistently win at. One of them nobody can. Why? Because one of them is random chance, and one of them your skill, your ability to interpret it can make a difference. But the big key the judge realized, he goes, you guys are defining anything. They try to so broadly expand the definition of gaming so that it covered any event contingent contract. And the judge
bananas.
Is like, you're saying that you could ban any of these? Do you realize this would ban pretty much 80% of the stock market?
I'm telling you guys, it's wrong. It's wrong.
It's wrong.
Well, I mean, it's like, have you thought this through at all? And it's like, no, don't worry, we'll be hypocritical and selective. So the judge correctly ruled that's nonsense. The CFTC has no such power. There's nothing unlawful about political prediction markets. There's nothing gaming about political prediction markets.
And just so people appreciate, like, the difference between gaming and market predictions are that one is, in theory, purely random. I'm saying in theory in that I think the House fixes these, the odds so that it's not purely random, but purely random, rolling a dice, versus educated guesses based on short selling stocks, for example, or predicting political outcomes.
Or predicting stock market trends. I mean, all derivatives are event contingent contracts. But they're usually based on informed information. A more skilled individual can consistently make money. I mean, the way I always described it is that if somebody can consistently make money at it, it ain't gambling. Real gambling is something nobody can consistently make money at in a predictable manner beyond simple random luck. And so So it's a big ruling. And what does it mean? It means everybody can open up political betting contracts anywhere in the country. That's what it means.
Real quick, Sin Lu Wu, just saw that you subscribed on commoncensored.locals.com. Thank you so much for subscribing. Let me know what branch of the infantry you would like to join, Sin Lu Wu, as soon as you get a chance. Thanks.
It means PredictIt can dramatically expand. It means Polymarket could legally operate. Kalshi has already said they're going to start opening up markets ASAP. So the political and so now I like it. I enjoy it. I've made a lot of money over it, quite famously over the years on it. At Sports Picks, I give out free picks to other people. For the last year, political bets have been cashing left and right.
Free money.
Going back to shorting DeSantis and betting Trump all the way back in 2023. But it's beyond that. The political impact of this legal decision is it provides real market information that can contest the institutional narrative. And the more people that are involved in the marketplace, the more legal it becomes, the more accessible it becomes, the less able the system is to lie and deceive people about it. And that's why the Biden administration wanted to shut it down. And that's why it's a big white pill that they failed.
Boom! So that's really exciting. When we have more and more people, special forces, Sin Lu Wu. Interesting pick. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, so this is really good. The more people participate in the betting markets, I think probably the better idea we'll have of the political landscape. And the Biden administration definitely does not want that, because they want to dictate reality to you and design the information landscape and tell you who's winning and everything. And just hope that you follow the appeal to authority logical fallacy and the bandwagon logical fallacy, and just all of the news are saying the same thing. It must be true. Nope, probably not. So I like that. I've never really thought about it before until I saw this clip, but I think that this is a really good idea. Glad that this white pill has happened and that the right decision the right ruling has been made here. So really good news for everybody. Let's jump over to our next topic. Paul Sarin wrote this one over at The Gateway Pundit. Macron's impeachment being considered in French National Assembly. Uh-oh, say it ain't so. Ha! They got the guillotine ready for it. Let's go! Yeah, that's the type of energy I want to see. Former Rothschild banker and globalist poster boy, French President Emmanuel Macron, will have to once again demonstrate his mastery of the art of political survival as impeachment proceedings against him are in motion in the French National Assembly. Suck it, Macron! Macron called snap elections to preclude a victory by Marine Le Pen's right-wing RN party, made an alliance with the hard left against them, and proceeded to betray the left, who has the most seats in parliament, and rejected their prime minister candidate in favor of one of his own, Michel Barnier, one that is much more conservative than his previous pick, Gabriel Attal. The hard left parties naturally went ballistic and presented a motion for Macron's impeachment. While it is very unlikely that he will end up removed from power, the effort did clear the first hurdle in the process. Le Monde reported the radical left La France Insoumise LFI party's effort to remove Emmanuel Macron from office passed a first crucial step on Tuesday, September 17th. The Bureau of the Assemblée Nationale, the institution's top decision-making body, validated the admissibility of the procedure initiated by LFI with the support of the Greens, the Communists, and even the Socialists. The left-wing coalition Nouveau Front Populaire, NFP, holds a majority on the Bureau of the Assemblée. This new majority has emboldened LFI, which on August 17th threatened Macron with impeachment if he did not appoint Lucie Castex, the NFP candidate for prime minister. After Macron decided not to name Castex, LFI put their money where their mouth was and submitted their text. Gabriel Attal, former prime minister and president of Macron's group of MPs in the Assemblée Nationale, said during the Bureau's meeting that this motion and this debate are a declaration of war on French institutions, and called its authors agents of permanent destabilization. Assembly President Yael Braun-Pivet criticized the left-wing majority on the Assemblée Nationale's bureau for approving Macron's impeachment proceedings, saying they have chosen to misuse the rule of law. Well, is it the rule of law or is it not? She added, "Our rules are meant to be respected. The decision by some to exploit them purely for political purposes is causing serious damage to our institutions," she wrote in a press release. You mean like how Macron completely dissolved parliament or whatever it was a few months ago to prevent Marine Le Pen from getting into office? That sounds like a purely political purpose that caused serious damage to the institutions. Fuck Macron. Fuck the socialists and the communists. Fuck all of you, basically. Guillotines, impeachments, let's go. The more the better of both, I say. The move, the first of its kind in the history of the Fifth Republic, is expected to have no realistic chance of succeeding. Damn. Oh well, if you guys want more information about that, link will be in the description to this article. Let's jump over to our next interesting topic of the day. Let's see, what are we at right now? 56 minutes. Let's terminate the YouTube broadcast. The YouTube? Did I say YouTube? The YouTube, bro. Let's terminate the YouTube. All right, boom. Posted the link to Rumble in the YouTube chat. Click it, join us, open a new tab over on Rumble where we can speak freely and the water is warm. Got to drag people from big tech to alt tech. Sorry if you can't make it, but we'll be back tomorrow for Hump Day. Until then, let's get ready to rumble!